Okay, I'm back. This is going to be a short one again. Once again, I'm just practicing. Now, I have an audition tomorrow. I have one set up, 8:40 tomorrow night. It's supposed to be a 2-minute monologue set within a 5-minute window starting at 8:40. This is the play, Midsummer's Night Dream. Midsummer Night's Dream. Oh, I've been doing that wrong. I was thinking it was a Midsummer's Night Dream. I guess that makes sense, huh? Midsummer Nights. That it's the night's dream, not the summer's dream. Not the summer's dream. Okay. I'm trying. I'm going to do Aegeus. It's the first one on here, but ultimately, what I heard when I started going through the play and reading through the play slightly, he was the one I kind of gravitated towards for a couple of reasons. One, I don't have any talent. Well, okay, no, let's rephrase that. I don't have any experience or skill at acting. Um, and I say skill in that I've never done it before. There's no natural skill involved here. This is just me thinking I can be outgoing enough to give it a go. So this is Aegeus. Aegeus is the father of Hermia. Now, if you don't know anything about Midsummer's Night Dream, there's two plays here. From what I can tell, they're two totally disconnected. I have not found where they connect things going on in this play. It's like Shakespeare had two ideas, and one of them was too small to be a play. And maybe even by itself, the other one doesn't quite make up a full play. So he says, let's put this other thing in here. And what it is there's a story, which is kind of the bulk story. It's the whole story about Hermia, Lysander, and Demetrius, right? It's the three characters. They're the love triangle going on. Hermia likes Lysander. The Aegeus wants Demetrius to marry Hermia. And Demetrius wants to marry Hermia for whatever reason. And there's another girl, Helena, who really likes Demetrius and wishes Demetrius wouldn't be such a jerk and marry her instead. I mean, she just thinks he can do no wrong, no matter what he does to her. And Aegeus is the father, and he's mad because the daughter doesn't care that he wants him to marry Demetrius, that he wants her to marry Demetrius. And she wants to marry Lysander regardless of what his thoughts are. And he is just, doggone it, livid about it. Well, yeah, that's how they want him to act out. I feel a little different about it. I'm going to read it a little bit differently. And yeah, they'll probably tell me it's not the right way to read him. But I feel like he's just hurt. Yes, he's angry. He's angry. He's angry as a result of being hurt that his daughter doesn't care about his desires or his wants or what he wants. Now, ultimately, it shouldn't matter, right? I mean, it's her life, her choice. That's the modern day look at it. And even back then, she was thinking of it very modern. And no, he shouldn't be able to decide who. But that's what he felt at the time. He felt like it was necessary. It was the times gave him that right, and he wanted her to obey. I looked into other parts. I was thinking that there's Theseus or even Oberon, but Oberon's parts are just too big, and I don't feel like I could. I mean, yeah, he'd have 3 months to learn him, but I don't feel ready for that. That's biting off a pretty big chunk for somebody who's never done anything. Theseus is a little worse. He's a little better. He's the Duke. He's the one that Aegeus is coming to complain. He's talking to the Duke. He says, "Hey, man, my daughter don't want to listen to me. She wants to do her own thing. And I have the right, so therefore make her do what I want or off with her head." Basically. Now, he's maybe not going that way, but he does say that he does talk to her and say, "You probably should do this because I'm going to have to do something. Probably you're going to end up in a convent for the rest of your life if you don't do this." And then the play goes on and on from there. The second thing that's going on in this play is apparently this play. There's a play in the play where these other random people get assigned acting parts, and then at the end of this play, they act out their play. That's it. They get assigned parts, and then they act out this play at the end of the play. It's kind of like how this play closes, after everything's kind of signed up. Now, is the Duke and maybe they're acting out for the Duke and Hippolyta, who's his fiance, during their wedding. I don't know. Maybe I missed that part, but ultimately there's a very thin connection between that play and what's going on between these three people. So here we go. I'm going to read Aegeus. This is his bulk thing. He has very few lines after this, like a couple of little onesie-twosie lines throughout the rest of the play. And this happens in the beginning. So like if I get this part, in the first 5 minutes, I'll be bulk done with the whole thing. It's like 5 minutes of the play, and I'm done and out. And then I'll have to come back for a few little pieces along the way. So if I succeed. Here we go. Aegeus enters in to speak to the Duke, and he's upset. Full of vexation come I, with complaint against my child, my daughter Hermia. Stand forth, Demetrius, my noble lord. Nope, see, I'm already messing up. See, it's trying to remember who he's addressing. So you got Demetrius, you got Lysander, and you got Theseus, the Duke. And it's kind of like I'm putting commas in the wrong places, right? Stand forth, Demetrius. And then, once again, speaking to the Duke, my noble lord. So, full of vexation come I, with complaint against my child, my daughter Hermia. Stand forth, Demetrius. My noble lord, this man hath my consent to marry her. Stand forth, Lysander. And my gracious Duke, this man hath bewitched the bosom of my child. Thou, Lysander, thou hast given her rhymes and interchanged love tokens with my child. Thou hast by moonlight at her window sung with feigning voice verses of feigning love, and stolen the impression of her fantasy with bracelets of thy hair, rings, gauds, conceits, knacks, trifles, nosegays, sweetmeats, messengers of strong prevailment in unhardened youth. With cunning hast thou filched my daughter's heart, turned her obedience, which is due to me, to stubborn harshness. And my gracious Duke, be it so she will not hear, before your grace, consent to marry with Demetrius. I beg the ancient privilege of Athens, which shall be either to this gentleman or to her death, according to our law immediately provided in that case. See, there you go. That's the whole thing. I don't even know how long that is. How long was that? Maybe a minute and a half. It's a very short thing. But the thing is, I want to memorize it. And I'm getting there. I'm starting to get a rhythm of what's going on. But ultimately, I have to memorize it, right? But I don't have to for this thing. I just think it's better. I'm going to read through it again. Hey, if anybody sees this, feel free to critique. Sure, critique. I'll let you have a few shots at me. Try not to be too mean though, huh? I don't know what I'm doing. Full of vexation come I, with complaint against my child, my daughter Hermia. Stand forth, Demetrius. My noble lord, this man hath my consent to marry her. Stand forth, Lysander. And my gracious Duke, this man hath bewitched the bosom of my child. Thou, Lysander, thou hast given her rhymes and interchanged love tokens with my child. Thou hast by moonlight at her window sung with feigning voice verses of feigning love, and stolen the impression of her fantasy with bracelets of hair, rings, gauds, conceits, knacks, trifles, nosegays, sweetmeats, messengers of strong prevailment in unhardened youth. With cunning hast thou filched my daughter's heart, turned her obedience, which is due to me, to stubborn harshness. And my gracious Duke, be it so, she will not hear. Before your grace, consent to marry with Demetrius. I beg the ancient privilege of Athens. As she is mine, I may dispose of her, which shall be either to this gentleman or to her death, according to our law immediately provided in that case. Uh, 130, 126. I just timed that one. And I stumbled a little bit, so it was probably, just over a minute and 20. I don't know. Should I slow my pace down? Am I reading too fast? I haven't tried that. So I'm going to try it again. I'll try one more time. How much time have I spent? 11 minutes? I think 15 minutes of practice. It's not nearly enough. But it'll have to do for now. I do have to get some work done. Maybe I'll do another little practice thing. I'm hoping that as time goes on, I'm going to start memorizing more and more of the lines. I'm going to start picking up pieces as I go, and then I'll be looking at my document less frequently. And that's kind of the thing. I want to keep getting to that point where I just start memorizing more and more and more and more. What is that? 1 star? Oh, that must be like an emoji that didn't come through. All right, here we go. I'll try this again. I'm going to try and do it slower. I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe I got to be a little bit more conversationist. I don't know. All right, here we go. Full of vexation, nope, try it again. Full of vexation come I, with complaint against my child, my daughter Hermia. Stand forth, Demetrius. My noble lord, this man hath consent to marry her. Stand forth, Lysander. And my gracious Duke, this man hath bewitched the bosom of my child. Thou, Lysander, thou hast given her rhymes, and interchanged love tokens with my child. Thou hast by moonlight at her window sung, with feigning voice verses of feigning love, and stolen the impression of her fantasy with bracelets of hair, rings, gods, conceits, knacks, trifles, nosegays, sweetmeats, messengers of strong prevailment in unhardened youth. With cunning hast thou filched my daughter's heart, turned her obedience, which is due to me, to stubborn harshness, and, my gracious Duke, be it so she will not hear, before your grace, consent to marry with Demetrius. I beg the ancient privilege of Athens. As she is mine, I may dispose of her as I wish. As she is mine, I may dispose of her, which shall be either to this gentleman or to her death. No, or to her death, according to our law, immediately provided in that case. Okay, so I think they're going to have to splice that one in. That was, yeah. Unfortunately, on stage acting, there's no splicing. Like when you're doing a movie, they can record, and if you screw up, you just keep going, right? You just redo it, just start over, and then they'll just cut out the part where you screwed up and glue them back together. You can't do that with stage acting. And really, what I should have did, in fact, this is where one of those times where you just go with it. When I said, what is that? You posted a link? What is that? YouTube, Mike. Oh, is that somebody else who did the same thing? Mike I know it's not all supposed to be read. Oh, okay. I'll take a look at it. So you think it was better going slow than going fast? I guess it does make it so I'm not rushing. I do need to not only get the rhythm though, and who I'm talking to. It's a little challenging because when you're not actually turning and talking to people, and you keep trying to read here, and I'm doing it in my normal voice, right? I'm not even trying to do something like, add a little voice or accent or angry to it. I'm afraid of trying that. I mean, I can do voices, and I can, well, to a point. I don't mind talking in uh, a deep tone, or even a lighter tone, or I don't know, a weird tone. Throwing an accent in there. But the problem is, you got to be able to keep that. And two, is it necessary? I mean, I picture this guy having kind of the way I'm reading it, I feel like my voice works. But if I was going to read it like he's a jerk, I'd want to go with a really deep voice or even a scratchy voice. And I don't know if I want to do a deep voice, scratchy voice. A scratchy voice to me is like more, he's a jerk. He's an evil guy. He's just a guy that, he grates on you right out the gate, and you're already against him the second you hear his voice. And that to me is one way to go. A deep voice might just be you're just stern and you're just kind of a snob. This is how it should be. I am the father. But I'm trying to read it like it's me, like I'm hurt by this whole process. But hey, just for fun. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for. It's part concern, and at the end he's a little harsh, but that's how I think of it. Versus if I go with the other form, doing a deep kind of a snotty voice. And I don't know what they want. What is Eggy supposed to be? Is he supposed to be a jerk? I've listened to some plays. He comes off as just right out the gate being kind of a butt. And I'm trying not. I don't know what the director's going to want, but ultimately I don't think he has to be a butt. Totally. Yes, he's being kind of, like I said, he comes off a bit harsh at the end, or to her death. But I think it doesn't necessarily have to be what he's trying to do. I've gone over, but I'm going to try. I'm just for fun. I'm going to try and read it. Yeah, well, that's just true. Um, well, he thinks that this guy has done some underhanded thing to steal his daughter's affections, right? He thinks it's not natural, or what he's doing is just wrong in every way. But being harsh to Lysander isn't that weird, right? I mean, he's the guy. He's the guy that's got your daughter's heart. I think a lot of fathers can relate to being kind of a jerk to Lysander. So a lot of people, I mean, for some reason, he really likes Demetrius. It doesn't really say why in the story. He just does. He likes Demetrius. And Demetrius is kind of it turns out as it goes on, he's kind of a snob himself. Maybe that's why they're two peas in a pod. I don't know. But the harshness comes in how he feels his daughter should behave, right? He's treating her like she's his property, and he feels that she should behave the way he says, or go with what his words are. And to me, that's where the harshness is. I don't think it's so bad that he's got a problem with the kid, with Lysander, because fathers sometimes have problems with their child's choice of mate. But so I think to say that he bewitched her, he thinks that he's doing something underhanded, is not too bad. That's my thought anyway. But I'm going to try just for fun. I'm going to try to read one that's snobby. Let's see how that goes. Let's see if I can do snobby. Can I do snobby? I've tried to do snobby during D&D, but sometimes it's not that easy to be snobby. I'm not a snobby kind of guy. I just really have it together, I could be full of myself, but snobby, no. All right, let's. Here we go. Full of vexation come I, with complaint against my child, my daughter Hermia. Stand forth, Demetrius. My noble lord, this man hath my consent to marry her. Stand forth, Lysander. And my gracious duke, this man hath bewitched the bosom of my child. Thou, Lysander, thou hast given her rhymes and interchanged love tokens with my child. Thou hast by moonlight at her window sung, with feigning voice verses of feigning love, and stolen the impression of her fantasy with bracelets of thy hair, rings, gauds, conceits, knacks, trifles, nosegays, sweetmeats, messengers of strong prevailment in unhardened youth. With cunning hast thou filched my daughter's heart, turned her obedience, which is due to me, to stubborn harshness, and my gracious Duke, be it so she will not hear before your grace, consent to marry with Demetrius. I beg the ancient privilege of Athens. As she is mine, I may dispose of her, which shall be either to this gentleman or to her death, according to our law immediately provided in that case. You know, I may be putting pauses kind of weird there, huh? Or to her death. I say that with a period. But I think it's supposed to be a comma. I keep saying that. Or to her death according to law immediately provided in that case. Or to her death according to our law immediately provided in that case. Yeah, I think there's something about the way I'm reading that. It's kind of a weird thought. Which shall be either to this gentleman or to her death according to our law immediately provided in that case. See, I think that might be better, because if I say death too harshly, it makes it sound even more harsh than it is. Oh, you're saying take a break between saying stand forth? My daughter Hermia, stand forth, Demetrius. By noble lord, this man hath my consent to marry her. Stand forth, Lysander. As I see what you're saying, like a pause in between them. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Kind of giving it a little bit of a hesitation there. Let's see. True, and and the thought is that they're in the room, but they're probably a few steps back. So you got to give them a moment to come up. And I get that. I mean, unless they're standing right next to you, which is kind of what I'm visualizing, but you're right. It's probably a good chance that they're standing back a little because, you know, they're in this out of place. I'm going to try... Dang it, I'm taking longer. That's all right. What the heck? You got to practice, right? I got to get this down. So let's go ahead and do one more time. I'm going to do a craggly voice. Craggly voice? Just because. I'm going to try and read it pretty much the same, but I'm going to read it with like a... I don't know. I'm going to try because I haven't even practiced the craggly voice, so I don't know what I'm going to come up with. I always... Yeah. So let's see here. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to... Maybe like a sneering voice? I don't know. Just go with it, man. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's going to be different, I'll tell you right now. And whether or not I can keep it up for the whole time. Sometimes when you start doing a goofy voice, it's also like it's harder to hold your expression. It's harder to be serious.
Full of vexation come I, with complaint against my child, my daughter Hermia. Stand forth, Demetrius. My noble lord, this man hath my consent to marry her. Stand forth, Lysander. And my gracious Duke, this man hath bewitched the bosom of my child. Thou, Lysander, thou hast given her rhymes and interchanged love tokens with my child. Thou hast by moonlight at her window sung with feigning voice verses of feigning love, and stolen the impression of her fantasy with bracelets of thy hair, rings, gauds, conceits, knacks, trifles, nosegays, sweetmeats, messengers of strong prevailment and unhardened youth. With cunning hast thou filched my daughter's heart, turned her obedience, which is due to me, to stubborn harshness. And my gracious Duke, be it so she will not hear before your grace, consent to marry with Demetrius. I beg the ancient privilege of Athens. As she is mine, I may dispose of her, which shall be either to this gentleman or to her death, according to our law immediately provided in that case. See, that's a whole nother way to read it. But definitely not a person you would like. Because as soon as he starts talking, you're like, yeah, I don't like him. He's a terrible person. That's my visualization of that voice and that character. But again, for me, it's kind of hard sometimes because I have to be able to read in that voice, act in that voice, and remember that voice. It's like I could do it like during the play, and if for say some reason they like that outcome, they like that voice and that way of reading it. And I have to remember how I did it next week, and the week after, and the following week. I'd be like, I hope I can do that again, because I've done that on a number of occasions during D&D, where I'll do this perfect voice or this voice I had in mind, and then I will have that same character come along later, and I can't remember what I did or even how I enunciated that voice. That's what I'm saying. He's kind of like, that's the scummy, just kind of little old man, jerky guy, you know? He's just a guy who's just angry. To this gentleman? Oh, you're talking about, because I go too quickly into the, let's see, what is it? Consent to marry with Demetrius. Oh, you're talking about at the top when he introduces this man hath my consent to marry her, and my gracious Duke. Wait, so I'm trying to figure out where is this to this gentleman. I don't even remember where that is. Which shall be either to this gentleman or to her death, according to our law immediately. Yeah, that's probably good. I do like the pause there. You're right. Like he's settling in on that. It's not like he thought of it right away, or he's kind of like, which shall either be to this gentleman or to her death, according to our law immediately provided in that case. Yeah, I can kind of see it. That's an option. I definitely see it. Okay, so I do have to do some other work, but I have to do this a few more times. So that's 4 readings, 2 with my normal voice, 1 with a deep voice, and 1 with a scraggly voice, kind of a scummy, jerky voice. I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I don't know what the director will want. Theoretically, I mean, that one took me, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, something like that. It is going slower, which is good. I think it's better. I'm taking some breaths while I do it, and slowing it down a bit. I still have to I don't know if I'm going to get this fully memorized, but maybe I can get it down to the point where I just glance. I want to get it fully memorized, but that's a lot for one day. I don't know how good a memorizer I am. Some people could read this and have it down in an hour. That's not me. I will have to read it on a number of times, probably just in my head a few times. But I'm starting to get the rhythm of it, and it's starting to stick. I kind of know what's happening through a lot of these. And I think it's possible that there's certain little bits like, and stole the impression or fantasy with bracelets, hair, rings, gods, conceits, knacks, trifles, nosegays, sweetmeats, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff. If you miss one of those, you can just keep going. Who cares? Ultimately, you just want to get enough of it in there that you're getting the idea that this guy has gone overboard and trying to steal his daughter's heart. So yeah, I think it's coming together. I appreciate the input. I think it's a good idea that I should slow down and definitely take some pauses and breaths at certain points. And I think in some cases, just pointing out like you did, where pauses might be a little bit more consistently. And I think as I read it,
And it becomes more of a mental state of knowing what's happening in this play and knowing the words that he's speaking. It becomes a little easier to know where those pauses should be. They become more natural. And yeah, I think that's good. So anyway, I'm going to program now. I'm going to stop, switch over, get some actual work done for, I don't know, a couple of hours. And then I'll probably stop and do some more monologue. And then I have to stop and finish prepping for D&D. I kind of thought about streaming my D&D tonight. I haven't streamed my D&D since we started almost 3 years ago. I did it for a few weeks, and pretty much nobody was watching. That's why I stopped. But then again, I had less than 100 followers. Now, granted, I only have just over 100 followers now. I don't know if anybody cares. Plus, it's Thursday. We all know who does their Thursday D&D, who does D&D on Thursday nights. And if people want to watch D&D, they typically won't go watch us. So, because when you've got the big, you don't know. Well, if you know D&D and you've ever watched D&D, you do know. But it's the biggest D&D stream in the world right now, and that's Critical Role. Critical Role does their streams on Thursday nights. I think they're still doing theirs. Theirs has been going on for a while. They usually start like at 6 or 7, kind of the same time I plan to start. The problem with streaming, though, is it's kind of a pain. It takes a lot of cameras. It takes a lot of setup, and I might not have time to get that going tonight. The only reason I was thinking about streaming it is because it's kind of a big battle, right? So there's a lot of fighting. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell my players. They don't know it yet. But I basically taken two campaigns and I've merged them. They're an amalgamation of 2 different campaigns, and they're kind of at the ultimate, we'll say the penultimate encounter to the end of this whole thing. And it's one where it's kind of like the end of one of the campaigns, or one of those individual campaigns. And I had them, they're tied together, so there's kind of a merge point, and it's the finishing, the end point of one of them. And I'm going, and that's kind of where they're at now. So, and the game doesn't really set up to do what I'm doing. I'm taking what could potentially be a pretty soft ending into turning it into a really violent ending. A lot of fighting. So, but they get to have some pretty strong people with them, stronger than they are, to help. But it'll be interesting. And that's why I kind of thought I'd do it. But I don't know. It depends on if I can get myself to actually set it up. I need a drink. When I did it before, I had 4 cameras. I have I have this camera. I have my camcorder. I have my other camera I use for when I do my workouts. And then I have I forgot where the other one usually sits, but 1, 2. Oh yeah, then I have a phone camera that sits over the TV that has the map and all of the characters, the minis on the board. And so it's a lot of setup and getting that all going. Anyway, all right. Well, society, you've been there for 2. 2 of 2 today. That's awesome, man. Appreciate it. But now it's time to switch channels switch topics once again. So another quick break, and then I'm going to. Wait, what? Nah, you played in the NFL? Seriously? Oh man, I got to know more about that. I'm going to the Broncos game this weekend, by the way. I'm a huge Broncos fan. And you know what? You know how you can tell I'm a huge Broncos fan? I live in Seattle, and I said I'm going to the Broncos game. You played for the Lions. Impressive. You know what's interesting? My wife has a cousin who played for the Lions. Corey Schlesinger. This is a long time ago. And so yeah, that's impressive. Um, I I played semi-pro kind of 1 year. I played 1 year in elementary school, 1 year in junior high, 1 year in high school, and when I got out of high school, I said, "This is fun." Seriously, you did? Did you know Corey, or did you just know of Corey? When did you play? All right, we definitely got to talk more about this. I got I should be switching over, but I'm definitely curious. My wife will just be like, "No, really?" She'll be all freaked out. Uh, yeah, that's cool. You made the practice squad. Well, when I played semi-pro 1 year, um, I didn't. I made it. Actually, I was only. I what was it? I think I played like no. I'm trying to remember. No, I actually did only got to. I didn't even make it to the first game, but I made through several cuts. I made it all the way to the last cut because a lot of guys try out to play in the semi-pro. It used to be the I want to say the Kingston. It must have been the King County Knights. Yeah, it must have been the King County Knights. It was a semi-pro team that used to be around here. I don't know that they exist anymore. But it had a lot of college guys, people who wanted to play from college. It had a lot of guys from high school who wanted to try to play, and then so you go through all these drills for like 2 weeks, and they had a lot of guys, way more than they needed for the team. So they kind of letting some guys go along the way. But I made it to like the last cuts. But so I say I played. I guess I really only played in the practice squads or the tryouts or whatever you call it. But it was still fun. Yeah, I mean more than a lot of people, right? They go and play. But I've been working out pretty consistently since I was in my teenage years, and I cannot remember the last time I went a full week with zero exercise. I cannot remember it. If it's happened, I don't know. I mean, I've gone on vacations, but I usually will hit the little gym in the hotel once or twice at least. And I can't remember the last time I went a full week. I've been injured, and I just find other things to do. Injured leg, yeah, I'll do upper body. I injured my shoulder, I go do legs. But see, the thing is, I've run half marathons, full marathons. I've biked the STP. I almost did it twice, but I got bored the second time. And yeah, my whole thought with exercise is that it's got to be part of your life. It's got to be a way of your life, not a goal, not something you're trying to accomplish, but it's got to be just something you do, like brushing your teeth at night, like eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If it's not, you'll never stick to it. I mean, you'll have a lot of downtimes. You'll take months off. You'll take time off. It's just not something it's not part of that life. And I've made it part of my life to the point where I get antsy if I go more than a couple of days without doing something. I never work out on Saturdays ever. That's the Sabbath to me. I'm not a Jew. I'm not Jewish, but I do believe in it. And I just rest on Saturdays. It's my take it easy, do fun stuff. I don't mind doing athletic stuff on Saturday, but only fun stuff. Like if somebody wants to go play tennis just for fun, I'll go play tennis or pickleball or whatever. To me, it's about recovering the mind and not working to get better, but just working or just doing things that are fun. And a lot of times that means just sitting around, relaxing, but a lot of times it could be me doing other stuff. Yeah, I currently work out 6 days a week. I'm doing a calisthenics program called Cali Move, and I'm on the third part, almost to the end of the third part. I still can't do a handstand. I've never in my life been able to do a handstand. And I'm getting closer, but I have this thing about being upside down. It's like, I'm like, oh no, I'm upside down. It's like, I'm getting there. I feel like I'm plenty strong to hold myself up. It's just a matter of being willing to put my body up in a point where I'm relying on my hands to keep me up. So yeah, I'm not there yet. I've been doing this thing where I stack tables and I put this thing on top of the tables and then I lean against it because I don't have a wall to lean up against, so I can't climb a wall. So yeah, that's a whole nother issue. I don't have a good place to set up against. Oh boy, I totally digressed, man. Totally off. Yeah, see, that's the person I don't want to be. The person that looks back. I always tell myself I don't want to be that guy who says I used to be able to do that. So I've run a marathon, right? I've run like 6 marathons, full marathons, and I always said, look, man, I don't want to be. Yeah, Corey Schlesinger, I think, retired well before that, right? I think he retired probably 2000 or earlier. I don't know how old he was, but it was sometime back. Um, and I didn't know much about him. I heard he was pretty good because he did play for a long time. But it's still pretty cool. It's pretty cool that you guys played for the same team. um, so, and of course, Seattle's a 5.5 point favorite. That's kind of an awkward thing to say. 5.5 point favorite. Um, 5.5. Let's say that 5.5 point favorite this weekend. I think that's what I last heard, and I think it's because Denver's got a lot of unknowns going on right now. Right? It's like, is Bo Nix good? People saying he's playing good, but we won't know until he actually plays a game. Is everybody else good? Denver's got good players at every position, but I don't think they have depth at every position. That's what I'm worried about. I'm not sure of their second, third, and fourth guys at every position. I know, like, they got a decent running back, they got a decent cornerback, they got a decent, what do you call it, receiver, but it's not several. They got a lot of guys that may be good. We'll see. A lot of them are young. Denver's got one of the youngest teams in the league right now, so we won't know anything. It'd be nice to see if they can pull it off, beat Seattle. Woo-hoo. You know, they're arch rivals to me because I've grown up with them, used to be in the same division, and they hated each other. So, well, you know. Nobody has a rivalry like Denver and the Raiders or anybody in the Raiders that was in the division. But, you know, Seattle was one of those teams there was a long time there, though, for a while when they were the same division. And nobody really cared about Seattle because they were the other team. They weren't a team that anybody was worried about. You know, you were more concerned about the Raiders, the Chiefs, and even the Chargers for a long time. And now Denver's the one at the bottom of the division. That we wish we had a Seattle there to share that with. But Denver historically has been one of the best teams in the league. Like since the 80s, up till they won their last Super Bowl, they had the best record in the league. They had won more games than any team in the league from 1980 to 2015, with the Patriots being number 2 by about 5 or 10 games. Needless to say, they have fallen off that perch the last 9 years. They're no longer at the top. I mean, they were a perennial playoff team, right? I mean, they're always in the playoff chase or in the playoffs, and now it's just like, what has happened? This is like early 70s, late 60s kind of play here. They're very mediocre, and it sucks. Oh, it hurts so bad. But anyway, yeah, mega digression here. We've talked everything about football. It's good to see, you know, online, a lot of the people I talk to online, they're not sports people. I've talked to quite a few people online who are like, I don't watch sports. I don't pay any attention to that stuff. And I'm like, what? Killing me, man. I like talking sports. I'll talk sports. You'll see me jabbering away. Now, and I say sports, really, I'm a football fan. Okay, so, and it's NFL. I do follow a little bit the Buffaloes. I follow them because my family lives in Colorado, so I follow the Buffs. But I don't watch them that closely. I mean, I was pretty excited when the Nuggets won the championship. I watched the playoffs. It was fun. But again, it's basketball. It's not the NFL. So I like other sports. I just don't follow them that closely. You know, I kind of like to stay on top of it. I love playing sports. I
I'm a 200 average bowler. At least I was the last time I bowled. You know, I mean, I bowled in leagues. I bowled in scratch leagues. I tried to become pro at bowling. I had an average of like 205 to 207, and I was like, I could just push it a little higher. I can go pro. Um, but I was pretty mediocre at a lot of amateur bowling tournaments I went to. I think I gotten the money once or twice, but ultimately I just couldn't quite break that plateau. You need to get an average that's close to 200 or 220. These days and age, you're 220 plus, and yeah, I just couldn't quite break that barrier. But it was fun. I bowled a ton, and then I played a ton of tennis. I used to play, you know, 3, 4, 5 times a week, 3 times a day sometimes. It was crazy. Um, so and I painted a pickleball court on our court here. So now my wife and I and my kids will go play pickleball outside or up the street where they play pickleball up away. So yeah, just staying active. That's why I do all the working out. I always just say, you know, if I have kids or my grandkids, if I ever have grandkids, I don't have them yet. One of these days, maybe. And they want to do something. I want to be able to do something. They want to go play football. I want to go play football. If they want to go play basketball or go on a 3-day hike. My brother called me the other day. I've never gone hiking. Not the other day, last year. But for a couple of years in a row, he called me and says, hey, I have this 3-day pass to go hiking. Now, my brother's 13 years younger than me. And he's probably not in as good a shape. He's had some heart issues over his life. But, I mean, I figured if he can hike, I can hike. So we went and did a 3-day hike. I'm carrying a 60-pound bag. No problem. Didn't bother me at all. I had a good time. It was fun. And it's because I can just do things at the spur of the moment because I stay in shape. I want to be ready to go if anybody says, hey, let's go play a game of basketball. Like, all right, let's go play basketball. Let's go play some flag football. I love flag football. I played on a couple of different leagues. I've done probably 6 or 7 or 8 years of flag football over my life. I haven't got to play one recently because I haven't been able to make time for it. But I love flag football. It's awesome. I used to be a receiver / cornerback. That was my thing. When I tried out for semi-pro, it was as a DB. In high school, I played receiver. In junior high and elementary school, I was a lineman. But, you know, different body types at that point in life. Yeah, flag football's awesome. I love it. I still think I could go play. I've never been fast though, and that was one of my problems as a receiver. I could run routes really well, at least that's what my coach told me, but I just wasn't very fast. I could catch. I was that guy who, if they threw the ball to us, because I was running those inside middle things, you know, I was the Steve Largent kind of guy. Probably not as good at route running as he was, or even what is that? In the Broncos, it was Steve Watson, I think it was. He was basically the Steve Largent of the Broncos. I just, you know, I didn't have crazy speed though. So guys could keep up with me. Not fast, meaning I was slow. Let's just say in high school, when you're supposed to be kind of, well, unless you're an Olympic runner or, you know, early 20s, whatever, I was running a 13-second 100 meter. 13 seconds. I mean, you consider that's pretty freaking slow, right? I mean, the fastest guys on any football team could probably run at least an 11, if not a 10. Now, I guess in the pros that can go down a little bit, but generally it's 10 to 11. You know, that's very fast. Today I went and did some running. I did sprints. So I usually run. It's 2 miles up to the local high school. So I run to the high school, and then I ran some 100s, 200s, and 400s. My 400 is about a minute 20, minute 25 generally. Now, considering I ran those after running a bunch of other stuff, and I was several miles in, I still, you know, land in there. But still, I think my fastest, I'm fresh, not a lot of pre-running, probably 115 tops.
My 200, generally between 35 and 40 seconds. Still not great, right? I mean, that's a solid 13 seconds off the world record pace, which basically means it's a solid 30, probably more like 15 seconds off the world record pace, which basically means I haven't even covered the first 100 by the time they're done. It's pretty pathetic. And then my 100 now is 17 to 18 seconds. I haven't been able to beat 17 seconds yet. But again, I'm usually having ran 2 miles plus a 400 plus at least one 200 before I even try. And I do rest, but still, 17 is pretty bad. I want to get that down to back to around 14 if I can. But I just recently, in the last few weeks, started running sprints again. I haven't done sprints in years. I'm talking 10, 15, 20 years if I even tried to run 100. And so this is all new to my legs. They're like going, whoa, hey man, all we've done recently is a nice steady marathon pace. And now you're trying to go fast? It's like, hold on there. So my legs get sore when I do sprints. Even though I'm pretty good at running, I average, during a marathon, typically around 8 minutes a mile. Or half marathon, I'll be running, 8 minutes a mile. I think my best marathon is like 7.5 minutes a mile. And I just did 7:40, I think, at Thanksgiving last year for a half marathon. So it's pretty good. But that's not anything spectacular. It's a minute. When I used to run the 2 mile in high school, I was doing basically 6-minute miles because I finished 11:54 twice. That was my best ever time. So basically 6 minutes a mile. Just under 6 minutes a mile for that. I'm nowhere near that. I think right now, if I ran really at my best, even though I'm pretty fit for half marathon, I'd be lucky to break 7 maybe. I don't know. Because my body's just not used to going that kind of thing. That's a 50-yard dash, right? So what is that? That's 10 seconds for a 100. Yeah, it's not very fast, I guess. Well, what was that? So you were a DB? Oh, that's nice though. I mean, in the NFL speak, 11:3 may not be crazy fast, but that is a really good speed. Um, I don't know. Yeah, have you ever done the mensch workout? Um, the mensch workout. I don't know if you haven't, you don't know what it is, but it's basically you run a 1 mile, you do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 squats, body weight squats. Well, not true. It's up to you. I mean, you can wear a vest, but the way it's designed is the 20-pound vest. And then after you've done all those, you do another 100 meters, another mile. I've done it a few times. And the idea, of course, is to get all those done in as little time as possible. In fact, they even have contests for it. And I think like a best A plus top of the line guy sounds like they could do it around 23 minutes. That's running 2 miles and doing 600 reps of exercise with a 20-pound vest on. My best was like, I think 40 minutes. 30 might have been 35. I can't remember. I haven't done it in a while. And I can do pull-ups a lot better than I used to since I started doing this calisthenics thing. The squats aren't that hard. I can do quite a few of those. That doesn't take much. I mean, 20 pounds is nothing, right? But you want to do full body or full squats. None of that half squat crap. You got to go all the way down, like what they say, ass to grass. Well, as far down as your legs will go. I mean, obviously it's still 3 inches off the ground because if you go down to your ass to grass, you fall over. But so you're really good at pull-ups. Okay, so pull-ups to me, if you do a full extension pull-up, right? I mean, where you drop all the way down, where your arms. This is the extent of bend. It's almost nothing. You're still engaged, but your arms are fully up. That's a full, full pull-up. A lot of people don't do full pull-ups right. A lot of times they're doing, this, which is still extended, but not fully. I mean, you're still fully engaged. But getting to that point where your arms are fully straight, that's where I struggled for a long time. Now I'm at that point now where I'm able to do full extensions, pull-ups, 15 to 20. When I first started doing this calisthenics workout, I couldn't do 10. I don't even know that I could do 5. That full extension was so hard. Getting all the way down to this is just so hard. When your back makes that switch over to fully extended, it's just night and day for me. It took me a long time to train myself to be able to do a full extension pull-up. Yeah, my legs have gotten most of their strength from running. I do squats. I don't like squats and deadlift. They just always feel dangerous. Even when I'm working my form, I mean, I'm so concerned about form on those things. But I don't know, I just don't like them. I feel like I'm always in danger of injuring my back. And in my life, I've only injured my back now. Well, as of this last week, I did it last week. 4 times. I did it twice within a month of each other. That was mostly because I overdid it. I got back into it too quick after my injury. The second time, I did it doing, I want to say it was squats, or I forgot what I was doing. And then this last time I did it doing, I think, one-legged squats, pistol squats. And I think I just strained it, but then it was aggravated and I went and played pickleball and I think I pushed it over the edge. But ultimately, yeah, it came down to just I have a fear of doing it. I think what I really need to do is more core stuff. So this calisthenics thing is teaching me a lot more core. I'm doing a lot more stomach, a lot more obliques, a lot more back stuff. And I just need to strengthen my core so I feel more confident in it. Learning to hold your legs up in an L sit, like on the floor where you push yourself up and just hold your legs up off the ground. I can only do about 20. I'm up to about 25 seconds, but it's really hard, right? Because I don't have enough lift and I'm only like this high off the ground to begin with. And so it's challenging because once you lift up, your butt wants to lean back, which means your legs have to bend even more. And those upper abs just don't want to pull my legs up. I watched the guy who demos it and his butt's he's like sitting like this and his butt's out in front of his hands and his legs are like this because he's able to curve himself and hold his obliques in a way where his legs are basically up and his feet aren't anywhere near the ground. His butt's a good, 3 inches off the ground and he's good to go. I'm like, freaking A, man. I can't even get my legs that high. Yeah, it's calisthenics are, the whole thing about calisthenics, it's all body weight strength, right? I mean, yes, you can add weight to enhance that, but it's all about being able to do things like human flag and planche push-ups and planche pull-ups and reverse planche and what do you call it, the muscle ups. Those are all things that's what the calisthenics is all about. Just building that body's core strength to where you can do a lot more physical things with your body that you can't do sometimes with weights. You can't do it. There's not very many bodybuilders that can do a human flag. It's just it's for one, they weigh a lot, so it's a lot when you weigh that much. It's all that much more difficult. But it's still, muscle ups are hard. You see a lot of bodybuilders struggle with muscle ups, but again, they're pretty heavy guys. A lot of true bodybuilders are pretty heavy guys. But even then, you see a guy that's comparable in size to a calisthenics dude. The calisthenics guy's going to rip him up when it comes to muscle ups, right? Because that guy he can muscle through them. But the calisthenics guy's just got so much more core strength and overall body muscle balance that he can just do more with less. It's kind of like gymnasts, right? When you watch the Olympics, the guys gymnasts, they can do crazy stuff. They're on their hands for 5 minutes dancing around on the mat. Their feet never touch the ground. It's like, that is so freaking hard. I have rings back here And I think about the stuff those guys do on the rings, and I'm like, it's just amazing how strong these guys are, what they can do with just their body strength. And yeah, it's pretty impressive. Okay, it's 1:14. I went way on over. This turned into way more than a monologue study. But hey, it was really cool talking to you. It's cool that you have a similar interests. And oh, that's not your fault, man. I chose to stick around because I think it's really cool talking about that kind of stuff. And yeah, definitely we'll definitely talk more. I'll be gaming plenty more. We can get off topic then. I'm gonna go program for a couple of hours on my stream here, and then monologue some more, and then D&D. It's gonna be a busy day. Again, I don't know if I'm streaming D&D yet or not, but we'll see. Till then, you take it easy, man.